Just like a lion that finds it annoying when a gazelle doesn't run, Sigma males find it irritating when people don't use their brains. It's like watching someone drive a luxury sports car, but never shifting it out of first gear. A tragic waste of potential. The Sigma man is thoughtful, always analyzing and questioning the world around him, finding his mind consistently at odds with the typical banalities of life. While they may not openly express it, here are 11 common things that only Sigma males find truly annoying. Number 1. Illogical assumptions. Sigma men are innately rational beings, always seeking logic and reason in every situation. They're not the kind to leap before they look. So when they're confronted with illogical assumptions, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It's not the assumption itself that upsets, but the lack of thought and the disregard for reason that it represents. They see people around them making wild leaps of logic, jumping to conclusions without solid facts or reasoning, and it annoys them. They look at these illogical assumptions, these baseless conclusions drawn from thin air, and they can't help but be puzzled. It's like seeing someone going all in on a poker game with a lousy hand. It's not just reckless, it's downright foolish. Sigma men understand the value of deductive reasoning and carefully considered decisions, but they don't play guessing games. They gather facts, analyze situations, and make decisions based on solid evidence. Making a decision without sufficient data or reasoning isn't just unwise, it's irresponsible. Their facial expressions often raise eyebrows. They'll look at people with confusion, shock, or even disgust when they see illogical assumptions being spewed out like facts. But it's not just the assumptions themselves. It's the fact that people around them are buying into them without even questioning them. Number 2. When people ask your opinion, but get offended by it. Sigma men are not known for sugarcoating their words. They are straight shooters, delivering the raw truth as they see it. When someone asks for their opinion, they won't give out generic compliments just to please others. They'll tell it like it is, without pretense or fluff. That's their code. Honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. However, this upfront attitude can sometimes bother those who were expecting a more diplomatic response. It isn't uncommon for people to ask Sigma for his thoughts, anticipating a soft echo of their own ideas. But usually they find themselves biting off more than they can chew. What really annoys Sigma men about this scenario is not the uncomfortable reaction their words might evoke, but the sheer hypocrisy of it. People ask for their opinion, but they don't really want to hear it. They want validation, not truth. They want comfort, not disruption. When their expectations are shattered, they get offended, blaming the Sigma man for their discomfort. This sheer lack of intellectual honesty and emotional courage is what truly upsets Sigma men. They don't have time for such games, and they certainly aren't going to dumb down or distort their thoughts to cater to someone's fragile ego. If you ask Sigma for his opinion, brace yourself to hear the truth. If you can't handle it, don't ask. It's as simple as that. Number 3. When people tell you about the problems they don't want solutions for. Have you ever noticed how some people like to complain about their problems, even when they have no intention of solving them? It's like they just want to vent and release some steam, but not actually do anything about the issue. Sigma men see this as a complete waste of time and energy. They don't understand why anyone would want to keep talking about a problem without taking any action towards solving it. It's like beating a dead horse, pointless and exhausting. But what's even more annoying to these men is when they offer solutions or advice, only to have it completely disregarded. It's as if their words are falling on deaf ears, and the other person just wants to keep complaining without actually doing anything about it. This lack of action and accountability is not only frustrating, but it also shows a lack of respect for the Sigma man's time and effort. They see these types of people as stagnant and stuck in their ways, unwilling to make any changes for the better. This attitude is not only frustrating but also illogical. Number 4. The lack of more people with Sigma personality in their surroundings. Sometimes, Sigma men feel like lone wolves in a world full of sheep. This sense of isolation isn't rooted in elitism, but rather a longing for deeper, more meaningful connections. These men crave intellectual and emotional equals, individuals who march to their own beat and refuse to be swayed by the crowd. However, when they look around, they realize there's hardly anyone quite like them. This lack of other Sigmas in their environment is genuinely exasperating. It's like being a fish out of water. Sigma males are not looking for validation, but for a shared understanding, a mutual respect for individuality and introspection. They yearn for conversations that challenge their perspectives, encouraging them to think deeper and question more. But in a society that rewards conformity and superficiality, such connection is an elusive treasure. The world is full of alphas and betas, of charmers and followers, all playing their roles in the grand societal play. Sigma men are the silent observers, the deep thinkers, the ones who refuse to conform. Their rarity isn't really something to brag about. It's just something they've learned to accept. But that doesn't mean it's not frustrating at times, wishing for more like-minded individuals to connect with and share their different views. It's annoying when you feel like you're the only one who sees what's really going on, and everyone else is just blindly following along. Number 5. When people take your sarcasm for real. Sigma men are known for their dry, insightful wit, often conveyed through sarcasm. This form of humor serves as a tool for them to express their unique perspective of the world, usually laced with a dose of irony. They find it simultaneously amusing and frustrating when their jests are taken literally, mistaking their sarcastic tone for a serious one. Why? Because it reflects a lack of understanding or depth on the listener's part. For Sigma, sarcasm is like a secret language, a hidden reflection of the intricate thoughts brewing beneath his calm exterior. When his sarcasm is misunderstood, it's like having a well-crafted joke fall flat. It's like throwing a well-aimed dart only to see it bouncing off the board. It's not so much the misunderstanding that annoys them as it is the lack of intellectual engagement, the failure to catch the nuances they've cleverly embedded in their statements. It's the realization that their audience is not on the same wavelength, that they're playing a solo game in a team sport. And these misunderstandings can be quite frustrating for someone who values sharp minds and quick wit. Number 6. People constantly telling you that you look angry or sad when you are just being serious. A Sigma man's default facial expression is often serious, calm, and collected. They carry themselves with a peaceful demeanor, their expressions reflecting the deep thoughts and reflections brewing within. However, this can be misconstrued by others. There's nothing quite as irritating as someone insinuating that you are angry, upset, or sad based solely on your composed demeanor. These unwanted prying into your emotional state are not only intrusive but also baseless. It's like the world can't understand a guy who can be serious without being all caught up in negative emotions. The idea that a calm front must be a facade for anger or sadness is a stereotypical assumption that Sigma men find exhaustingly repetitive. They are not the puppets of their emotions swinging wildly from one mood to another. They truly own their mindset, valuing their ability to ponder and reflect in peace. Misjudging their calm for anger or sadness, it's not just irritating, it's an insult to their emotional intelligence. Number 7. When people nag for attention. There's nothing more exasperating than people who incessantly beg for attention. It's like having a buzzing fly that just won't leave you alone. It feels like a distraction. It's like an invasion of their personal space and peace. The energy they could use to focus on their thoughts and ideas suddenly gets diverted to maintain someone else's ego. It's the equivalent of someone changing the radio station in the middle of your favorite song. This nagging for attention is often tied up with superficial antics and shallow conversations, something Sigma men have little tolerance for. In a nutshell, it's like being asked to water a plastic plant. pointless, and unfulfilling. Number 8. Unnecessary rules. While they are not necessarily anti-establishment, Sigma men have a natural aversion to unnecessary rules. These guys are all about self-governance, valuing autonomy, and the freedom to create their own journey. Pointless regulations or rules that serve no real purpose are like chains that bind their spirit. It's like being asked to wear a heavy coat in the heat of summer. Not only uncomfortable, but downright illogical. This hate for unnecessary rules is not about rebelling for the sake of rebellion. It's actually born out of a deep respect for efficiency, reason, and logic. It's the unnecessary bureaucracy, the red tape that slows down progress, the hoops they're expected to jump through just because that's how things have always been done. These Sigma men are not rule breakers just for the sake of it, but they won't hesitate to question and challenge rules that restrict their growth and potential. Rules should serve a purpose, paving the way for order and stability. However, when a rule becomes an obstacle rather than a facilitator, that's when the Sigma's frustration creeps in. It's like being handed a map for a route that's blocked. It doesn't aid the journey, it hampers it. Sigma men believe in intelligent rule setting, where every regulation has a sound rationale and a beneficial outcome. Any rule falling short of this standard is nothing more than an annoying roadblock on their journey toward progress. Number 9. People who can't see the consequences of their actions. Sigma men are truly bothered by those who can't grasp the consequences of their actions. It's like watching someone throw a rock into a pond and then act surprised when it creates waves. It's baffling how some people can't connect the dots and foresee the effects of their choices. Not only is it frustrating to witness, but it can also have real-life consequences. The inability to anticipate the outcome of their actions can lead to impulsive decisions, causing harm or damage that could have been avoided. This issue is amplified when those individuals refuse to take responsibility for their actions and instead shift blame onto others. It's not only frustrating, but also shows a lack of accountability and maturity. These consequences often have a ripple effect, affecting others in the process. So when someone can't see the bigger picture and how their actions impact those around them, it's like trying to explain quantum physics to a toddler. Pointless. Number 10. The torture of small talk. While small talk has its place in social settings, it's not something Sigma men particularly enjoy or excel at. Their minds are too busy contemplating more deep topics to engage in trivial chatter. Small talk feels forced and insincere, like a meaningless dance with no real purpose. It's not that they can't do it. They just prefer meaningful conversations over superficial ones. And the idea of socializing solely for the sake of it is baffling to these men. This discomfort with small talk often leads to them being labeled antisocial when they simply prefer quality over quantity. They value authenticity, depth, and meaning, not just empty words to fill the silence. So when forced into small talk, Sigma men often feel like they are wasting their precious time and energy on something that adds no value to their lives. It's like being asked to eat a bland meal instead of savoring a delicious one. Number 11. People who force others to accept their views and opinions. Sigma males are unmistakably annoyed by those who aggressively impose their views and opinions on others. This behavior is like a grating noise in their ears, like someone scraping their fork on a plate. It's not only the arrogance of these people that bothers Sigmas, but also the bold assumption that their perspective is the be-all and end-all. Sigma men are drawn to open-minded discussions where ideas are exchanged freely and respect is a given. Being forced to accept another's viewpoint disrupts this balance. It's like they've put blinders on, limiting their vision and blocking out other perspectives. This feels like intellectual imprisonment, stifling their ability to think, reason, and explore. They're not into thought policing. They'd rather hold their ground and stay independent in their thinking, even when faced with strong opposition. Each person is entitled to their own opinions, just as they are entitled to theirs. Pushing one's views onto others is an unnecessary invasion of personal boundaries. It's like someone has rudely invaded their personal mental space, expecting them to rearrange their furniture according to the intruder's liking. Sigma men won't stand for this.